There we go. About to say it's taking a while. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of GMAT Club's YouTube Debriefs. My name is Evan. For those of you who don't know me by that name, most of you should by this point. Those of you who actually watch our YouTube videos. My form name is Nightblade354, so I'm hoping you either know me by Nightblade, you either know me by Evan. If you don't, get on the forum or watch more of our videos. Either way, I'm happy. I can live with either decision that you make. Just do one. Anyway, joining us here this morning is a user from the forum who has generously volunteered to come on our broadcast and talk about how he had was it 140 or 170 point increase?
I guess 170. Yep.
170 point increase. There we go. And for folks, those of you who aren't maybe familiar with my material, you have to understand very simply that when I do these things, I do not read the materials ahead of time. I want to be a student who's coming into class looking for that pop quiz. And as I just have talked about many times, why do I do that? And so that way I can view this interview the way that you guys view this interview, because I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have read this guy's debrief. Now, it's very good. It's probably very detailed, but you didn't read it. And neither did I. One, because all of you are probably lazy, and two, because I am lazy too, but I want to approach this interview the way that you guys are viewing it. If you have a question, odds are that if I haven't read his debrief, I'm going to have that same question. So that's why we do that. So am I unprofessional just a little bit by being unprepared? Sure. Does it make for a better product? Yes. Does it make for a more entertaining product? Also, yes. Which is why we do all of this, because we're here to entertain you, and we're here to have some fun, and maybe, just maybe through all the nuance and all the stupidity that I do, maybe we learn a little bit from our lovely interviewee. So with that said, Nitish, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here. Why don't you give a little background about who you are and why you decided to put yourself through such misery to come on this show?
Thanks, Evan, for having me here, and thank you, GMAT, for being such a support for all the people like me and helping all of us in the journey. And I've been overwhelmed. Like when I started with GMAT, I was quite overwhelmed with all the material which was there, right? But before coming to like how that journey started, it started with GMAT Club itself, and I went on some
Woo!
and that was there. But giving a background of like what I do currently, I have graduated from a BBA course from India, and it's a 3 years course. I graduated in April 2021, and so I'm a fresh graduate, but I've been working for different initiatives, startups, etc. Since a while now. 2016 was the first time when I started my first sole proprietor venture. It was a social initiative, and 2018 was the second one, where even that was a social initiative, but the purpose was a bit different. And in during the pandemic, we started with a nanotechnology startup. So while these things were going on, we were working like on different fronts in business, in social, in all these things, and that was quite a bummer for me during my GMAT prep, because when I started with my prep, it was quite difficult to actually focus on the prep without really like while addressing all the things which were going on. We were newly expanding to a new city in my NGO, and things didn't work out because I was not able to even like focus much there. So why am I giving this background? Because like you can get like a basic idea of where I come from, what knowledge I have. I didn't have math as a course in my undergraduation, and even verbal. I was not quite used to reading books. There were only a few books which I read throughout my journey as well, right? And there was a lot of work which was going on. So these things, I guess, are like appropriate to give you an estimation of the time which I had on my hand. I had to complete my preparation as soon as possible so that I even meet the like August intake for 2022 applications, right? So like the fourth round for some of the schools are on 30th March. So I was a bit stressed on time there, as well as the initiatives which I was talking about. So I had to even focus on that end, because I was like, my work was also suffering while I was preparing. So that was that. And I guess, I mean, this much is enough for a basic background to estimate like where I come from.
Yes, we're gonna dive into all of that. So what I'm hearing here is that you didn't have the easiest of backgrounds coming into this. You didn't really have a strong quant background. You really didn't have a strong verbal background. And on top of that, you had some stresses going on in your life, all of that culminating into what was a very difficult situation. Which, by the way, we probably could have named this a little bit different to say how to get a 170-point increase while going through a very stressful point in your life. So for those of you who are watching who are saying I can't get a 700, this should teach you that, or hopefully will inspire you to believe that you can. um
Right. And
so yeah,
and the
go
story
ahead.
which I started from 540 was actually uh, like a testament to my inabilities on this test. So I would not say like inabilities, but I was not quite well versed with what it was. In fact, for the 2 months, I was just figuring out what this test actually is. So that's there. That's where I started from.
And that's where we're going to begin. But first, one more announcement. Folks, if you ask a question in the chat, so on the YouTube message feature, those will get answered at the end. I hope to cover everything that you need, but if we do not hit on something and you really, really want it answered, ask, and at the end of this show, we will make sure to cover it, or we will try to cover it, assuming Nitish here doesn't have anything pressing to attend to. With that said, nice to see you too, Mr. I'll call you Mr. Sunday. I'm not going to pronounce your first name. I'm sorry. Ignorant American. I can't pronounce names to save my life. So now you know. All right, Nitish, I want to go way back to the beginning. Not dawn of the dinosaurs beginning, but pretty close to that. So
Dinosaurs.
what made you decide to take the GMAT? And in that same vein, what was the first thing you did after deciding to take it? Was it
Right.
coming to GMAT Club? Was it
Right.
potentially exploring prep companies? Was it going to friends and family and trying to figure out how they had prepped or what their recommendations were? What was that like?
Right. So as I said, like I was quite involved with like startups and social ventures. So like after my graduation and even during that, I was quite involved in all those things, and I really didn't give a serious thought to whether I will be pursuing further studies after BBA, because we even have a family business. So like I was still figuring out one thing to do. In fact, that was a major problem while I was graduating, that like my mind was not focused and my energy was quite diverted in all the different areas I was involved in. So at that point of time, like as I was not much serious, it was not until after the graduation that I decided that I have to or I want to pursue master's education. But uh, there were a lot of conversations in my family and with my friends also, like what I want to do post graduation. And I was at a time where to be honest, I wasn't a child and I'm not a completely full grown adult who is taking responsibility
Who
for
is?
people. Yeah, I mean, in terms of taking responsibility financially, right? So like the initiatives which I am involved in, it I have financial engagement, but I haven't been taking that really seriously, because to be honest, at this point I don't have to. So because of that, like I was not really focused on what I have to do and what I want to do in terms of education. But once I was just like, I was talking to a lot of people, I was thinking, okay, maybe 2 years after I'll check out like if I'll do MBA or not, or maybe some MSc courses. But for me, I researched all the options seriously after 2 to 3 months of my graduation. And maybe even that was quite related to peer pressure, not peer pressure, but peer influence, where I saw a lot of other co-students study, like going to some courses or maybe searching for that. So like that motivated me to at least check. I realized for me an MBA was not much beneficial for me. That's why I wanted to like go in a master's degree and finish off with my education at this point. I mean, obviously there's scope to study in future also, but I don't have really a specific area because I've graduated from a management institute and not from a technical institute where I have to really go for an MSc in a specific scientific field or any field, any particular field for that matter. So that's where I decided, okay, then like I'll pursue future studies a bit more seriously. And then when I decided that I have to, or like I would in the future, anytime in the future I might have to actually go for MBA or MSc, then I like finalized down to MSc because I didn't like want to invest that much in MBA in terms of money. And MSc seemed like a better option for me because in terms of the experience I currently have, or what are my purpose for studying abroad. So with that, I finalized on studying abroad, finalized to do MSc or MIM programs. And then I finalized on like the universities, like not finalized, but I searched upon the universities. Because of COVID, there were a lot of universities who were waiving off GMAT. So I got this suggestion from a lot of people that you don't really have to give GMAT for a lot of universities. But I was aiming on the top 2 to 3 in the country which I want to go to. So in those universities, GMAT was mandatory, and the courses which I wanted, like GMAT was mandatory. So, and I have never, like I have only given one test similar to GMAT, that was during my entrance exams while I was applying for my undergraduation. And even that was not like, it had mathematics, it had basic verbal, but the way GMAT is, that was like the my undergraduation entrance test was quite different. So I started exploring about what GMAT exactly is. And for anyone who is exploring about GMAT club is definitely one name which comes up time and again. And one, like at one point or another, they will definitely land on this GMAT club. And to be honest, when I came upon this plan, like I when I came upon this platform, before that I had talked to a few friends about how to really ace this test and get the maximum marks I can. But their own backgrounds were quite different. So even that's a cautionary note I would like to cover here, because like I was comparing my journey and my starting capabilities with them without even giving a mock or judging my current capabilities. So what happened was, my friends, they had like the people I talked to, they had got amazing scores in 1 to 2 months. That is, I mean, 760, 730 scores after studying in 1 to 2 months. But I didn't see the background which they were coming from, the knowledge which they had. So they suggested that I start with GMAT club. And I do. There were two things which they suggested. One, do the OGs, and second, just be engaged on GMAT club and start solving section-wise problems. But that didn't truly didn't like work for me. So I started there, and that's where I started really exploring GMAT structurally. So that's how my journey started.
All right. A lot to unpack there, but it sounds like GMAT came out of necessity, talking with friends and seeing what they were like and saying,
Right.
okay, this is the path where I need to go. You mentioned their starting points and you mentioned you started exploring the structures around it. What was your goal? What was your score goal that you wanted to achieve? And what was the timetable around that initially? I know you
Right.
said that because of their background differing from yours, you probably
Hmm.
had an expectation of, I am going to say, for 3 months, 4 months, and get a 750. So, what would, and be honest, what was the goal? What was the timetable?
Yeah. So I was actually determined to score above 750, 760 after a month or two of preparation, and that's
And
not
as we
impossible.
know, that did not happen.
Yeah, that did not happen, and that's not impossible also, I would say. But yes, my starting capabilities did not allow me to actually score that much in the time of which I imagined. And in fact, even like there were a few courses which I enrolled to, and even like the time which I thought that I'll complete those courses or move along with the course and get the desired marks, that didn't happen. So like that was a really shocker for me, because I was comparing journeys at that point of time. And that's again like some like at a point of time in this interview I would even like to cover that. So that's there. I started with a determination of getting above 750
Mm-hmm.
anyhow in the 2 months.
Okay. So now take me through. your studies. You have this goal, it's fairly ambitious, but in your mind, it's probably in line given what your friends have gone through. You're thinking, oh, that I can do this. What were your study habits like? Were you studying in the morning because you're a morning person? You mentioned work, so were you working during your lunch break? And how many questions a day were you doing? Were you studying quant every other day and then verbal every other day? Were you mixing both in? What was that study plan like from the beginning?
Right. So, so this is something which I would suggest not to do because it didn't work for me. But when I started with it was like I took suggestions from my friends to start with the OG. So even before that, I thought that I had a lot of conceptual gaps in the mathematics section of in the quant section of the exam. So I started with Magoosh
Oh, wait,
lessons.
wait. I'm sorry. Well, if I need to interrupt for 1 second. Folks, we here GMAT Club have no agenda. Yes, we are one the world's, I believe, largest business school website in the world. I mean, outside of MBA.com. So outside of anything official, I believe we are the largest in the world by a pretty substantial margin. That said, we have no agenda. Yes, we have sponsors, but I mean, for those of you who may not have watched us, we bash sponsors on this show all the time. I encourage students to do so because we're only here to make sure that you understand what materials work and what materials don't. I've come on
Hmm.
here and I've ragged on some of our sponsors before, and some of our students have too. So I have not told Nitish to either talk up or talk, to say, oh, yeah, no, no, mention Magoosh. Make sure you say how good they are. No, no. If he had a bad experience with them, I want him to talk about it. That way we can rip them. Same thing for any other prep company or sponsor. When you come on this show, you're being honest. You're not being paid, and you're not being compensated by anybody outside. You are here to be as candid, as open, as sincere as possible. And it's then my job to help you rip anybody who did you a disservice or to talk up anyone who did you a good job. So please, with that said,
Right, Evan. And
continue
I mean,
talking about Magoosh.
and the thing which you said is so true. I'm realizing it right now because I myself had that doubt before this session. How do these sessions get aligned and scheduled? And like there were sessions which centered around some course companies, and I had that doubt. Thanks for addressing it out because in fact, Magush, I mentioned it because not because it helped me a lot, because I started with that. In fact, when I started with Magush, I started with their quant courses and the free quant courses because to be honest, so like I come from India. I am like you can call me a Gujarati and a Marwari mix, and like from where I come from, you might not know what a Gujarati and Marwari is, but this
No clue.
community, yeah, this community of people is like understood to be the most into business, into entrepreneurship, and Marwadis are also like considered to be really conjuice. That means that we don't like to spend money on like areas which aren't worth it, right? So like I started with like I had a lot of apprehensions on by like for paying online for courses or anything. So I didn't buy anything from GMAT Club. Even in fact, GMAT Club had a lot of offerings, right? But still, like for me, after talking to these friends, I didn't even buy the books because I wanted to make sure that I understand the test completely, and once I'm completely and 100% sure, only then I'll make any investment. So that's why I started with Magoosh, because that was a free course which was a bit more structured and gave me a bit more knowledge about quant section. And with GMAT Club, it's a free platform, and I was quite like
Damn
I was
straight.
shocked to see how much like GMAT Club provides you for free. So actually, that was a really good thing for me when I started. But yes, again, I started from Magoosh. I started like for a month or a two. I dedicatedly gave 4 to 5 hours a day of
Whoa. Okay. So
to
4 to 5
Magoosh.
hours a day, Magoosh. Were now what was that comprised of? Was it 4 to 5 hours exclusive quant and then another day exclusive verbal, or was it breaking it up?
No, so to be honest, verbal, I didn't really think about it because um, uh, I didn't really understand how the verbal course was after till the time I didn't really give Sigma X mock. Sigma X mock is from this company EGMAT, and it gives you a lot of data. But till that, I had given 6 to 7 different free mocks. So like there'll be a string of a lot of resources which you get on. a GMAT club also. So I utilized all of that. I made my 2 months plan as per my 750 ambition to cover all these mocks weekly, each mock, and then learn from those mocks, and then study that specific area, and then move ahead as per
Yep.
my friend's suggestion. But then, like, that's how I started, because quant I thought that quant would be a major problem for me, me
Yep.
not being from a scientific background and a quant based background. But to be honest, that was the opposite of what the whole case was. For me, the verbal was my weak area, which I didn't realize until later on. So anyhow, what I did was I started with Magoosh. I like 4 to 5 hours. Uh, that was approximately 2 hours of 2 to 3 hours of making notes from their quant based course, and then progressing, and then doing some questions to see my understanding. But there, even at that time, I always thought that there's something missing, and that course didn't cover everything. So that, to be honest, didn't really help me out much. Then I started doing OG at the same time, right? 1 to 2 hours of OG. And I start like a friend gave me a Wiley subscription. I should not really commit this here, but
No, no,
at
no.
the
Comment again. Rip them. So Magoosh didn't work for you. Terrific. Those of you
no, no,
watching,
which is all
apparently
right. I
Magoosh
mean, I
quant
took it
didn't
from the
work.
friend. I mean, these kind of resources are supposed to be one person only, right? So that's why I was saying I should not occur this here. But anyhow, I got that subscription, Wiley's subscription. So like that really helped me structure my questions and quizzes to an extent from the OG. But when I did that, right? So like in OG also you can segregate the difficulty levels and or like in that with sections and all. So I started with that. But even that didn't help me out, because the whole stuff, like the approach was really unstructured. So for me, this whole 1 to 2 months in which I thought that I'll have a 750 plus, I was on the zero level only, because I was not learning anything. I was just understanding about the test for the 2 3 months. And then I took, like, out of the blue, or I don't know what happened, but after a few months, I had exhausted at least 8 to 10 tests, free tests. I did all the different, like, a lot of different way cat like computer adaptive tests online, which were
Okay.
free. But then I did a Sigma X mock, and I got a 540. In fact, before that I was getting 700, sorry, 600, 640, 630. So I was quite overconfident. So, okay, like I'll just make it up. Like I'll make it to this mark, if not in 1 to 2 months, maybe in 3 to 4 months. But then after studying for 2 months, dedicatedly for 4 to 5 hours, I thought, why am I getting this grade? And to be honest, what happened was all the other mocks gave me data, but that was, I could not trust that data, because I tried Manhattan, I tried Kaplan, I tried um,
Eek, eek, bad,
I, I
bad.
I I
Don't
tried
say that
yours.
word. You never say that word on this show ever. Nobody says
I
Kaplan.
in
Kaplan, you
fact,
suck. I hate you. You have the
if
worst
you
mocks
say
out
that,
there.
I even tried the LBS mock, which was not even a cat, I believe, because I mean that was even worse than Kaplan. So like I tried, because I was just swimming in a ocean where I don't know where I was going, right? So like I was using all the free courses, I was using all the free knowledge on the internet, and I was the most misguided person ever, because the intentions of my friends were good, because they scored the score which they scored from studying the way they did, but that didn't work for me. So that's my point, which I'm trying to show here, that for me, that an unstructured approach didn't work. I tried all the free resources, okay, and I tried all the free mocks. I tried to analyze my performance, but as those mocks didn't have really question wise uh, like they didn't really tell me that at this question you should have done this, so the answer key and everything was also not there. And even in the OG which I was solving, the answers was not really satisfactory, right? So yes, Tanya, Kaplan mark is bad,
Yes, a
and
thousand
in fact I
times
would say the
yes.
same for all the other mocks, to be honest. Besides only two mocks, I've in this whole journey I've got the trust. Like only two mocks have gained my trust. That is, one is Sigma X mocks, because they gave me so much data that I could actually believe that data. I had trust in that data. Plus, at the same time, it showed me my behavior in segments of the test, and the way I was taking the test, and a lot of stuff. So Sigma X was good, and another one is obviously official marks. But so I'll tell you a fun fact, that I didn't even take even one official mock, because um, I thought that I'll exhaust my free mocks, and then slowly and steadily towards the end I'll use the official mock. But then all these things happen, and then when I took the Sigma X mock, I was quite determined to understand what this mock says and what I should do. And I was so frustrated because after this journey of 2 to 3 months, after dedicating so much time, that I thought, okay, I'll just like listen to what they have to say, because like EGMAT gives Sigma X mock. So they sent a mail about the mock and like the basic business reward which they would do. And I scheduled a session with someone. I don't even remember his name, but that session told me like explicitly stripped me down of my confidence. Not confidence, to be honest, but stripped me down of my overconfidence, right? And it brought me down on the ground, that I should really think where I'm going. I don't have any structure. I'm just going behind free stuff. So like I rethought my whole journey. I just like let everything be, because as I said, right, I had a stress of time, because like I had to get done with this because my work was suffering. Secondly, the deadlines were coming in. So like I had intended to like apply in the round 3, but because of all these things I missed that round. And like okay, it was all right, but like that was the point when Sigma X mock came in and EGMAT came in. And to be honest, I don't know about others, but eGMAT and GMAT Club, these were the main two drivers of my score progress. And again, I've not been paid to say this, but I'm saying this
Nope.
because you know what, Sigma this exam, eGMAT, these two things specifically, even like I took a lot to learn. I took a lot of learning and inculcated that in my general life also. The way I create my habits, right? What helped me, what didn't help me. I was reading a few books, this deep work and atomic habits, and saw how this exam actually pushes you to inculcate those things in your lifestyle, and only then for a person like me a change is possible. So that's why I'm occurring EGMAT, because it actually changed the way I perceived education overall. So that was the time when I enrolled in EGMAT after having that session, and I knew my data points and my true ability, that quant was still okay, but verbal uh, like was my grave, and like actually like I had to focus on verbal now.
Can I
Yeah,
ask a question?
yeah. I'm so sorry. Yes.
I don't apologize. Well, one, I want to say, folks, for those of you who don't believe that these are, truly unscripted video sessions, Nitish was just looking behind him trying to find a book that he read, and we could barely hear him in terms of audibility. I mean, so again, none of this is scripted. All of this is completely off the cuff. It is supposed to be free flowing. And again, we have no agenda. We're just here to provide you guys with the honest truth. That's all we're here for. But my question to Nitish, you told me you took quite a few mocks
Right.
the first couple of months. I want to know, one, were you seeing improvement in those mocks that you were taking in terms of score improvement? And two, what was the quant verbal breakdown that you were seeing on those?
uh it's been a while. I don't even remember those scores,
Ballpark
like
works.
bifurcation. Sorry.
Ballpark estimates work.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't even remember that, because that was like I hated that so much. Wait, I'll if can I get a minute? I'll get that sheet I
Sure,
have. Just
sure,
a
sure. And once again, folks, I will reiterate that this is a completely non scripted show. Because if it were scripted, I would not be standing here talking to you guys by myself, waiting for Nitish to come back. So,
No, and look, so Evan, I want to even my agenda for this was to, I mean, obviously, give the short truth of my story to everyone, but what I want to even cover in the upcoming session is the reasons behind what I'm saying, right? So if I tell you that okay, data really helps you out, or habits really help you out, so my purpose is to make sure that I communicate how it happens. Because one thing which I saw missing in the GMAT club, or any eGMAT, or any interviews, success interviews, was the reasons behind why the things which they did work, right? So that's what I want to focus. But anyhow, I have got this. So like this is Manhattan. I got a score of 600, and wait. I'm so sorry for this
It's
mismanaged.
okay.
I didn't really expect. I
You know,
should have.
okay, we don't have to cover this necessarily, but point being that the mocks weren't overly great. You were seeing some fluctuation, obviously, because the Six Sigma or the Sigma one that you took was a 540 from EGMAT, and the one from MGMAT was in the lower 600s. So there was some score fluctuation there. You may have been seeing some improvement, but not a ton, not to what you were hoping to see. So at that
Right.
point, if I can crawl inside your head for a minute here, I'm not a psychiatrist. I wish I were, but I'm not. You were probably thinking to yourself, okay, I need to change my habits. I need to change what I'm doing in order to achieve the score that I want to achieve. Do I have that right?
Right.
And that
I
and
was.
that's when you
I was
shifted to EGMAT because they gave you probably a mock, so to speak, that was more representative of what you really were than some of the others.
And to be honest, can I, like, if I be blunt, um,
Please.
uh, I even tried the GMAT Club free mocks, and like that was in sections. So, like we can
Oh
do
boy.
and a quant. So even that didn't really help me out, because what I observed was
I'll say our quant section is built by Bunel. Bunel,
oh,
those questions, I will say, if you can do well on the quant section of our mocks, GMAT Club's mocks, you're golden. Like those are harder than the actual GMAT. I promise you, because
and
Bunel
that's
doesn't
the
hold
worst part,
back.
because
He
to be honest, for me, judging my capabilities was the goal, but not practicing. So obviously, those mocks from that respects were amazing, and I respect the respect like the
I'll also
GMAT ninja.
say I'll say our verbal section blows. Doesn't like it will not give you a representative score. You might as well take a Kaplan mock based on our verbal section. Just saying. So see, we rip
But the questions
ourselves
were great,
even. Don't
and
tell
one
me this isn't fair.
a great thing which I liked about GMAT Club was the new quiz which you've brought, and the best thing was that you compile the resources from the sources, right? So I could
Yes.
actually test my abilities based on those sources. So I fell in love with those mocks, but that was in the last 2 to 3 days, so I could not actually take the benefit of that. But at the
And
same
you're
time,
talking about the quiz mode, correct? You're talking about the
sorry,
custom quiz mode, right?
custom quiz, yes, custom quiz, yes.
Okay, perfect. Not now our mocks. Again, our mocks, good quant, bad verbal. Just pointed out there. Nitish is talking about a feature on the forum where you can pay. I don't know what it is at this point, but you can pay some amount of money and you can aggregate a bunch of questions together into a mock that you can then do.
Right.
But
And
so sorry, please continue.
but like again, as you said, that I have to be honest, this was my honest opinion that the mocks were great, but they were not great representations. That's why I didn't really like them and use it for my growth. But then that's why I used Sigma X, and like I intended to use official mocks. But to be honest, in my journey, I didn't really use mocks for really learning anything, because the pedagogy of learning completely changed after these 2 to 3 months. And like I was saying, I started with that, and when I signed up with eGMAT, I really understood a structural way of learning. And the most shocking part was the verbal part, because, and I was in awe of that course. The reason was that I never approached verbal from a structured point of view. I always thought that those were few sentences, and there was a question beneath that. I have to make sense of the whole thing and then answer. So I used to answer anyhow. Another thing was, I come from India, and like reading comprehensions were given to us, but the way it was tested was quite different in GMAT, and it is quite different in different other tests which we are given in our schools and colleges. So reading on comprehension also, it was like every section of this test was a new beginning for me to learn from, right? So that's why verbal was a really eye-opening part of the test for me. And the way this test judges our ability, that's something which I realized a lot later, which I should have known. So to anyone who is watching this video or this session, please judge your ability first and then plan your journey. It's really important for you to really see your strengths and then work on those, and see your weaknesses, and like raise that level to a basic extent. But yeah, that's there. So like that's where I started with. That was my experience with mocks. And again, as I said, the pedagogy of egmat was quite different. But again, I might not want to go to exactly how egmat worked, because there were a lot of other things which I inculcated in my lifestyle which actually held me. And um, uh, anyone watching this, you might have a lot of videos which tell you that okay, do this, do that, you can study from these resources, that resources, this helps, that helps. But and I saw all of them, so you can obviously gain a lot of from all those videos. What I would also like to focus on is what lifestyle changes actually helped me. So even you were asking me if you were a night person, morning person. So I am a night owl, and I, in fact, since the last 5 to 6 years, I've been like working, like I work a lot on all these. I have to dedicate a lot of time for all these different initiatives, because there are different teams in different geographies of India where I have to be there virtually. So my schedule has been that post, and as I said, I told you that I was continuing this even during my studies. So I had my college or my schools from morning 8 or 7 or 8 to 9 to evening 4 to 5 or 2 o'clock in the school, right? So on the first of the day, I didn't have the scope to work a lot, so I had to work from 5 till 12, or 12 or 3 or 4, based on what I'm doing, because I am into martial arts, I'm into guitar and music. So I try to make sure to balance all that as well. So I have always been a night person. And why am I focusing so much on that? Because that really effed up my studying schedule. And the mindset which this test needs, it really needs a fresh mind, not a stale mind. And that's something which I observed even during my mock tests. Because like, so as I was telling you, right, my mock test didn't really help me out much. It was because I took only three uh, tests which I really count. All these 7 8 tests, those don't count for me. In fact, those were time wasters for me. But the Sigma X mocks, right? I'll talk only about that. So when I purchased the subscription, and the first test was 540, right? So I started my journey, and the second test was again that was 570. That was 10 days before the test. And you would not expect a person who's getting 570 10 days before the test to get a 710 on the test day. But what I observed was my state of mind was, as I said, really effed up. I mean, what I don't know, like what I would say, because I was studying 10 to 14 hours a day, 10 to 12 hours a day, consistently since the last few weeks. And then I gave this test. Uh, and the previous day was, I guess, only 9 or 10 hours a day study. But still, that my mind was really exhausted. And then I gave the test. So because of that, the stress level was quite high and I could not perform. So now you can see, right, 10 days before the test, and I've gotten 570 and 710. And I didn't study at all before the test. Like, I did all the things which I could. I took a massage. I played music all the day. We have kirtans in our like in India, so I attended a lot of kirtans. So I just let myself flow. So that was the importance of not taking stress when we're even studying about studying for GMAT and also taking the test, right? So it comes back to that point about habits. Why I'm focusing so much on sleeping and all these things, because I have always been a night person, and I changed my whole schedule to an early rising person. And I dedicated my complete time, energy, and efforts to this test, and only then I was able to raise up my ability. So that's there, like that's something which really helped me out, the different like small habits which I found. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. Then again, folks, I didn't read the debrief. So as he is speaking, I am learning as much as you are. We're in this together, which is why I'm president elect of GMAT Club. And that I find that hysterical because that isn't the title that I wanted there. But either way. neither here nor there. So you got a 540. You were using EGMAT. You started getting a 570. You took a week off before the test, essentially,
No, no,
and
a
you
day
got
off.
10.
A day off, yeah.
Okay. So let me try and unpack some of this. How much time did you spend studying between getting your 540 on the first Sigma mock from EGMAT and the 570? So what was that time period?
No, 540 was the day when I started with EGMAT. It was
Right.
before, like for this Magoosh and everything. So 4 to 5 hours a day for 1 month or 1.2 months, 2 months, and 1 month of OG and all these things. So approximately 60, 80 days, and 80 days into four, like 320 hours. It's like already I was studying that much, and like I was getting varied results from 600, 650 on different mocks. Then I took a Sigma X and I got 540. So I didn't really, like, to be honest, even when I look back, my whole journey doesn't make sense to me. But I realized that okay, there were a few things which were really specific from my journey, which I observed. And as I said, this was quite counterintuitive that a person studying like for all this time and getting 710, you might expect him to get really good grades on the past few mocks, right? But that was not the case for me. So that's what I want to say. Like I don't want to, like, mocks didn't really help me judge my abilities, but what judged me, like helped me judge my abilities were the like sectional scores for different sections in EGMAT course. So that was there. That's where I judged my ability from. And at the end I just took a plunge. I was gonna, after getting this 570, I was gonna postpone this test also. But then, as I said, I judged my ability from the sections, and then finally took a plunge of faith and just gave the test on the final day. And to be honest, it was not a fluke, because even now when I solved those questions, I could see that clarity. And that's where I brought in the conversation about GMAT being a test which really needs you to be stress free and have a clear mind while studying as well as while giving the test.
Okay. So I I want to ask a couple of things. One, I have to assume that because you approached this from a sectional standpoint, that you were seeing improvement in the sections as you were getting closer to your test day.
Right. SC, CR, RC, all these subsections, and then verbal overall. Because we could take, like, I even took GMAT club mocks, right? So like even there I could see that I was able to gauge the my ability from those tests, because those tests were good in terms of telling you like section wise, okay, you're able to solve difficult questions or not, and all these things. So like I only focused on sectional abilities till before the test, and then I went on giving the test without really focusing on the mocks.
Okay. Which, by the way, isn't the worst strategy in the world. Mocks are only good in my mind for a couple of things. One, to give you a baseline of your score, and two, to help you visualize test day, to get yourself mentally and physically prepared for the test. But they shouldn't be something that you're overly leveraging to help you study. The studying component of this comes from the individual questions, which, by the way, GMAT Club has, I want to say, like 10,000 of them, probably more. So that's where that comes into play. And I'm a proponent of blind review and making sure you dissect everything. By the way, for those of you who are watching who are maybe novices that are at the beginning, when he says OG, he means the official guide. It's a book. There are tons of books going back, I think, 20 something years. Those books are what the official questions are. They're the highest quality you can find, and they're what's actually going to be tested on test day, but just in a different, just worded differently, so to speak. I want to sort of step back and figure out what changed in your study habits. So you started with EGMAT. So what changed in your studying to help you improve in verbal and in quant to be able to get you to that 710? Because you
Right.
clearly were seeing improvement. What changed from those 4 to 5 hour days where you're focusing on one section to now going to EGMAT? What shifted to help you go shift up beyond
Right.
obviously the lifestyle, which you said you were focusing more on as you
Right.
approach test day?
Right. So the structure of the course really helped me out because I could not envision how a person would structurize, like structurally look at the verbal course. Because in verbal course, I didn't like, while going into the test, I didn't have a strategy, to be honest. So like for sentence correction, I would just read the sentence and see like what all issues are there in the, like what all grammatical mistakes I could find in the sentences. And I would see like, okay, I would jump right to the options, and then like strike out each options, not strike out, choose the best option. And then like there were two options. Like my strategy was not really structural. I didn't have a strategy, in fact. So what egma did was it broke down every single component in particular ways of solving the question or approaching the question. That helped me a lot. And like they had master comprehensions, or I guess like even that's, I guess, even free for anyone who wants to see. I don't know, it might be, but master comprehensions were the basics of verbal. And for even quant, it was quant basics. So like these basics also were so important for me. So that's one thing I realized: the structure and the way they thought what's going on in the mind of the learner, and how they presented the whole thing was really important. And for me, as I said, an unstructured approach was not working. I tried Magoosh, I tried different other mocks and learning from the mocks, doing the OGs, etc., etc., but that didn't work for me. So the structure was a huge thing. And plus, one important thing was data. And I again was in awe of egmat, the way they presented us data. We could, because data is something which we can trust, right? So when even gmat club, for that matter, I only explored this towards the end of the test taking journey. But the data which even you guys provide is amazing, because you even have the solutions and the forum discussions. So all these things were there on egmat as well as gmat club, so that helped me a lot.
So you're talking
And
about our error log, correct?
error log also. But like what I'm focusing right now is, while like progressing with the course, you could judge the ability of what you've recently learned through the data which you get from the quizzes. That's what I'm focusing on. So like if you've completed certain modules, so like in egmat, it's like sc is divided into certain modules. Like once you progress through modules, you'll get data on all the subtopics of those modules. So basically you're learning every aspect. And this is what I mentioned in the starting also, that Magoosh didn't really like, in Magoosh there was always something missing when I took a test. But in egmat, once I'm done with the module and once I'm done with the course, I never felt that okay, this thing was left or that thing was left. So because gmat doesn't, to be honest, I believe that it does not have a syllabus, even though it says that these things are there. But there are always fluctuations on the day of the test in the type of questions also. Sometimes the type, as in subtle changes, like you might have not really seen that kind of a word in the question stem, right? So the question stems might be different, or in that sense. So gmat egmat helped us really cover all the parts of the pie, and like really understand our weaknesses. And when it showed us our weaknesses through the support also, I worked on those weaknesses and then only focused on them, so that I could really increase my capability abilities in all those different areas. And as I said, the representation of data was amazing. With that, the forum discussions really helped me out. And forum discussions, if for example someone who is not buying egmat, the gmat club forum discussions are also amazing. In fact, one thing which I believed was, you yourself should really get engaged on those forum discussions, because while writing down those comments or those answers, your mind thinks a lot more than just that comment, right? So you learn a lot there. And the second, like related to this, was error log, which you were talking, Evan, because error log was something which you see after the test, or maybe after like you've done a certain set of questions. So error log was something which helped me after I've done all the modules and I'm judging the ability of the whole section. So that's the difference between error log for me and the different quiz data which I got. And that really helps. And while we're talking about error log is actually so important. And like there was a point in my journey also, like after starting with egmat, I studied for approximately 3 months, like approximately 3 months and 5 7 days, 10 days. And in that, what I judged was like I always reached a plateau in my sectional abilities and all that. And I could see that subsectional abilities were showing good results, but when I looked at verbal overall or maybe quant overall, I was not able to score. So then at that point of time, I started focusing more on error log, and error log actually showed me the deep areas. Again, that was data. So showed me those deep areas of my preparations which I was lacking in. So that in that way also error log helped me a lot. And I even explored some free error logs of eGMAT, of GMAT Club, and those this was a string by Abhimanyu or someone, I don't remember to be honest. But you can, if you find it, like there were a lot of free error logs also on the GMAT Club. There you can find the way, like when you put the error log data, right? You like the mistake which you did, the steps and the processes which you didn't do, or the specific data. You can, in those error logs, you could actually see it was it's these are Excel sheets. You could actually see that after you fill the error log, there are main sheets where they combine the data and show you your data, like present you that data in a really in a form which can really help you judge your abilities in those subsections. And for me, judging my ability in different subsections was the main thing for my growth, besides obviously the lifestyle change which I had. But again, Evan, like the reason why, so like my, even this interview might be really unstructured from my end. The reason is that my journey was not driven by the uh, like basic things which I've seen in the videos. That's why I said that for me, focusing more on that would be quite unstructured. In fact, I would like to focus more on the implicit things which really helped me gain the success, like habits, or maybe the way, like, I use an alarmy clock. So like those things really help me in certain aspects, right? So that's what drove my change, like drove my growth more than the general ways of progressing with the GMAT journey.
And again, here I thought this was just going to be another standard debrief where we go through the normal items and we see the progress where somebody wasn't studying the right way or they finally found the right course. And to a certain extent, that's what this was. You need to find the right course. It's just that God, this sounds like such a childish, not childish, but like such a cliche of a movie where it's like, no, 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 you didn't need it. It was inside you all along, the ability to succeed. And, and that's what I feel like we're looking at here with this debrief where you have to figure out, I can do this. I just need to make sure that I'm staying true to myself and having a social life and doing the things that I like, so I'm not pressuring myself and making the situation worse. I feel like that's sort of what we've come to at this point. I was gonna ask about your test day experience, but I mean, it doesn't sound like, unless you want to talk about it, we don't have to. The question was going to be more along the lines of, you didn't study all week. Was that on your mind during test day, like when you were about to go in, or were you calm as a clam and you were ready to just kill the test?
In fact, I would like to cover this because, like as I said, the implicit things of a studying schedule drove my growth much more. So on the test day, it was not a week, it was just a day, because as I said, like I was quite already low on time. So I was studying 7, 8, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and that was going on since 3 4 2 to 3 months, right? But even between that, I took a lot of different breaks, like day breaks, where I did nothing. And I slept a lot during the whole journey. So like my day, like when I studied for 11 12 hours, the day was like I used to do only a few things, which was I had a 15 to 20 minutes strict morning schedule where I worked out, I did my meditation, I did my yoga. I like basically took care of my mind and body in that 15 20 minutes, and it was cut to cut. Post that, I would only study, eat, and sleep, nothing else. So sleeping really helped me a lot. And coming towards the test taking day, right? So the day before, I actually did nothing. I guess even didn't even really focus more on revising. what I did was just went through. So like I made summaries of error logs. So that really helped me out. Yes. So when we made error logs, so I had all the error logs prepared a week or two before my test day. So every week I would summarize the error log furthermore. So like if there were 30 questions, I would make a summary of 5 questions, what I learned from them. And the next week I made there were sections of 5 questions, 5 questions, 5 questions summary. Then the next week I would make the summary of those five questions also. So in this way, at the end of the week, like the last week, I would just revise those summaries and nothing more, like not the course progression, nothing. And then on the day then on that same day, that one day before, I took a good massage, I played a lot of music. I went on I went on long drives. Like I in the morning, in the evening, I saw a good sunrise. I saw a good sunset. Basically, I just
Hmm.
let my body and my mind be on rest for that day. I made sure, yes, even nutrition was an important part. So like I was studying a lot, right, 10 to 12 hours a day. Not a lot, like some people study more than that also. But at the end, I was studying for like good part of the day, and I didn't get any sunlight. So when vitamin D and B12, I got deficient in that, right? So what happened was, like I was not able to concentrate, and these things people don't tell you, and these things seem quite silly when we hear from people, right? Nutrition, sleep, eat good, these are quite general and normal things which anyone would expect to do. But these were so important for me because I saw my slack when I didn't really focus on that. So like the last day was all about that, all about me, and not thinking about the test, just chilling out, and just believing that the next day the test is gonna be all right. And actually it was. So I was happy post the test. I could not believe the score because I got 570 in the previous mock. But then I realized that the break which I took, the rest which I took, and the appreciation which I had for myself played such a huge role on the test day. So that was that. Yeah, like the test day journey was that.
Wonderful. Um, and it sounds like you just did what you were supposed to be doing to keep yourself in a good state of mind, which I can't stress enough is kind of critical, as Nitish has learned, to doing well. Folks, I'm going to ask him one last question, and then we can dive into your questions. And that is, do you have any recommendations, or do you want to tell our audience anything that we didn't cover to this point? Is there something in the back of your mind where you're saying, man, I wish I had covered this, or I wish he had asked me that? uh, Floor is yours. I mean, this is a very open ended question.
Even if it sounds silly, can I cover a few things?
By all means.
I'm so sorry if some people don't really feel that this is quite silly or weird, but these were the things which I really focused on, and it helped me. So like during the test period, there were areas where I would score a lot low, maybe on mocks or maybe on sectional tests, and somehow I was much more lethargic, and I found it really difficult to deal with that kind of demotivation, right? And at that point of time, I would waste, as I was on a really short period of like a study period of 2 to 3 months. I had to make sure that I don't slack off during mid of my preparation. So to fight with that lethargy, I made sure that obviously, like again, the nutrition was complete, but at the same time, the self doubt really plays a huge role in slacking you off. So I saw a lot of GMAT club and EGMAT videos, like success videos, and I reminded myself that I can do it because 540, 570, and having an ambition of 750, standing from a 570 score, that does not seem like a reality. But like while I was getting those scores, I intentionally and like practically, like physically reminded myself that I can do it. I reminded myself of the good things which I've done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and like impact I've already brought, and realize that this is just a test. Even though it's important, this is just a test. So like that helped me realize what drives me, right? So like it even comes from this book, Drive. But anyhow, that was one thing. Habits really helped me a lot because like GMAT requires you to have consistent mind flow of information. Like you're understanding concepts, you have to have a fresh mind, and you have to make sure that you retain all that information, because it's not that you have to learn stuff, but you have to make sure that you're so well used to, like well versed with all the mistakes you've done in the past. So you have to make sure that you're consistently studying for the test. So like that 4 to 5 hours which I was telling about, even the thing was that while I was doing that, I was having a lot of other stress from work and all these things. So that hindered my growth a lot, and I saw really good change due to my habits. As I said, I woke up really early, right? With a fresh mind, I started my studies and studied a lot, and then took sleeping breaks in between. And I was all throughout the journey, I was researching a lot about the best ways to study and all these things. And I realized that while I was taking my breaks, so like for those who are on a strict schedule, even when you take on breaks, make sure that your mind has space to think and it's silence, like it's in silence, right? So that helps a lot, and that helped me a lot, and that's scientifically proven also in a lot of YouTube videos. So I practiced that even during my breaks. I made sure that I slept or I meditated. And then I, for like coming back on the one small thing on the alarm, so like
Mhm.
as I was really bad on mathematics, on quant, right? I was not good with numbers and the structures, which like when you solve a lot of questions, you have a structure in your mind that additions happen this way or multiplications happen that way, and there are some additions and subtractions which you remember. So I was really weak on that. So what I did was I downloaded this app Alami, which helped me like anything, because first it got me like it this app, what it does is it does not snooze off till the time you don't solve particular questions. So it got me in the habit of solving math from the start of the day. It got me into the habit of waking up early. So such things mattered a lot as well. And breaks also, the that way and the time you took take breaks. So like a lot of people follow Pomodoro technique, right? 20 minutes and 5 minutes, and what worked for me was 1.5 hours and 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. 1.5 hours study, 5 to 10 15 minutes break. And that because the structure of the test is such. But with that, error log, again I covered that. Data, use data, strong data and tests, and GMAT club is amazing for that. eGMAT is also great because they leverage data in their mocks as well as their sectional abilities. So use data to judge your ability and then make a strategy. Maybe rope in some experts who can give you some opinion on your own ability. And then with data, error log, again, that's done. Good sleep before test is really important, and I can't stress this enough. I believe the last test, my test experience was good only because I was rested, at peace with what I've done. And to be honest, I didn't really study quant. Even though I lagged at quant, I studied only number properties. Apart from that, I studied nothing, not even a single course or anything.
Mhm.
So, because quant is just pure logic, I believe, in GMAT testing, you have to be really smart and on the toes, like while answering questions. So, being rested even helps there. So these were quite like seemingly weird things which might not really be relevant to people, but it
Eh,
was quite important for me in my journey, and that's why I am focused more on this rather than the general views, because a lot of videos are already there on YouTube to guide you on that. So like that's there, that's my journey, and that's really helped me out. What helped me?
And again, this is your time, which again, I'll reiterate for the umpteenth time, we have no agenda here. We're here to hear the stories. We're here to talk about them. That's it. I have never been paid to try and steer this thing one way or another. I've never been talked to by our sponsors or anyone else saying, "Hey, can we talk about X or Y?" No. That said, we're talking about sleep. I think we should get like somebody to sponsor this at some point, like no, like a Tempur-Pedic or some pillow company, maybe, uh, or maybe even like some botanical company like Vicks and their sleeping stuff. But we'll cross that bridge when we're allowed to. By the way, if anybody at those companies, like if you know somebody and you think that no, this could help with your marketing campaign, reach out to us. Reach out to us, please. We're okay
Yeah.
with that. But Time to move on to questions from our lovely patient audience. First question: can you share with me your quant approach? I'm a working professional. How will I approach quant in a limited span of time?
Right. So it again comes on ability, to be honest. Like for me, I judge my ability, and when you judge your ability, you'll get an understanding of where you are in different subsections of quant. Because even in quants, like as I didn't focus much on quant, I don't really remember the names. But for quant, I realized with me also when I saw the number properties, I was at 13th percentile, and that was quite bad. And number properties was a huge portion of your quant ability. And one interesting thing which I got to know later on was that quant or verbal, everything, the subsection in that, number properties or algebra, they're independent. So like the difficulty which you get, the question difficulties which you get is different for number properties and different for algebra. Even like, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I realize that if that's the case, then I'll only focus on number properties and not really focus on algebra. And because of that, what happened was I didn't waste a lot of time, as you said that you were like you're on a limited span of time. So when you do that, you don't have to spend time on things which you like are already at a good level at. And what happens is when you're working on number properties, the test judges you on your ability to answer difficult questions again and again, right? So you're increasing your threshold for number properties or say algebra, and then you're showing the test that okay, at least there's something which is your strength, and then you show them your ability. So you're getting a bit higher score there, and making sure that you don't really invest unnecessary time otherwise. And also quant, I believe it's so much more logic, so that's why a lot of people say it's really important to solve a lot of sums, but at the same time not fixate yourself on certain process of solving those questions. So like one thing which really helped me was GMAT club in this, because on GMAT club the discussion forums are amazing, and Bunel and a lot of GMAT ninja and a lot of such experts, what they do is like even if there are explanations, they would give you easy explanations and tell you that you could have done it this way. So you focus on that, take notes of that, and don't take note of the process, take note of the thinking behind it, that you don't want to focus on solving one a b c d e. You want to solve from a, recognize a pattern, and directly reach to d, and with confidence. So like that thing really helped me out, even though I didn't have a lot of like quality like study based on theory for other topics. So I even scored really good on other like even algebra went quite okay for me. So I, to be honest, I don't remember the exact scores, but it went quite well, and I could solve questions with confidence because of this approach, and especially GMAT clubs help during the end of the session.
Woo!
Yeah,
I
there
think
was
fundamentals are important. I think that for quant and for verbal, if you don't have your fundamentals, you're never going to do well. So I'll just
exact
tack onto that.
exactly fundamentals. Yes, you rightly said fundamentals are really important, and I used to ignore that. But fundamentals help you solve sums which you've not even like theoretically seen before. So it's fundamentally, and also structures are really important in maths, I believe. The structures of how numbers are, as in whole numbers, also how the number, I'm not able to express this, but I somehow realized that math is a lot more logical and structured than I used to think. So spend more time with math, and maybe start your day with math like I did with that alarmy clock, and just get used to math. I believe it would help you if you have a limited span of time. For me, that helped.
All right, next question. I think this one was directed at me. Uh, I have 4 years gap, but I was working with my dad during that time. Am I eligible for an MBA overseas? I'm not an admissions consultant. What I am is someone who helps run GMAT Club. Now we have admission consultants on the forum, and I would highly recommend you go there. They'll give you a free profile evaluation, and they'll be able to say yes, Oxford Said, INSEAD, HEC Paris, one of those programs. Obviously, those are the top ones. LBS. Oh, they'll be able to tell you if you're on that path. So I can't unfortunately give you a yes or no. So I'm sorry about that, buddy.
Um,
Um,
can I add one thing? So like I researched about this as I had spent some like experience with family businesses also. I reached out to a lot of top schools also to really like not top schools but the alumni. And I've found a lot of people who had this kind of experience, and schools really appreciated that also. And one thing which like got to know was like we judge a lot that this might not be really new for them or this might not be entrepreneurial for them, but that's now not how they look at it. You tell them and then you discuss with them like why this gets you like is relevant for that program. So it's completely fine, I believe, like from my research. I've even talked to people from MBA from London Business School, Stanford, Harvard, NCR, HEC, a lot of other such people. So yeah, that's there.
there we go. All right. What are okay? I'm gonna assume this meant like something on the lines of what are all the resources you refer to for your verbal? Can you please throw some light on that? So, what'd you use for verbal? Is it exclusively EG, MAT, and OG?
No, so EGMAT, yes, definitely. EGMAT changed the game for me, like anything. And to be honest, 80% of my study time was verbal EGMAT only. So that's there. I would give you like point blank that the data which they give is amazing, and the structures which they put in, like while like to tell you your behavior, that's really important. And plus, one more thing is that they give you a strategy which you can follow, and it's not like as I said, I was before EGMAT, I was quite unprepared while I was looking at questions and while I was looking at how this test was. After EGMAT, the verbal helped me a lot in quant also, surprisingly. So that was there. But with that, there were some areas like bold-faced questions. Like I was always stuck on bold-faced questions, and I was spending a lot of time on that. So there, crack verbal strategy. A strategy is there where you put a like you draw a circle and divide it into four with premise, counter premise, and premise, counter premise, and then conclusion and like opposite of the conclusion, anti-conclusion. I don't remember. Like so, I made structures of my own. So like when I was stuck on eGMAT, like I was not able to progress. I saw some GMAT club videos, and GMAT club like blesses us, to be honest, with a lot of guest lecture videos. And there I observed. So like even if you have so like when you find a resource, even if you're on that resource, if you're stuck on a session, just go on on GMAT club YouTube channel, subscribe to that, to be honest, because I used to learn something new every single time from different experts. So that helps. GMAT verbal, and yeah, eGMAT and crack verbal were two interesting resources which I thought were really important for me.
I gotta know, was I one of those verbal experts you learned from?
Okay, and I'm so grateful to you, Evan. Seriously, matlab, the forums, the different videos which you put up, and all that for free. So, I mean, I'm really grateful to all of you for all the content and all the guests which you bring to us. And yeah,
Wow,
one thing which
folks,
I
for those of
realized.
you who didn't pick up on that, he's basically saying that I'm grateful for GMAT Club, but you in particular, Evan, I didn't learn anything from you. I mean, the videos were
No,
good, but all the stuff you've published on GMAT Club, nah, that was more general.
so
That's when you listen.
no, Evan. The thing is, I was like, I was going through so many experts, different experts that like I can't really appreciate one more enough. Like definitely, I'm really grateful for you, but GMAT Ninja and like I'm
GMAT
just
Ninja
grateful
Charles
for
is probably the best expert we have on the forum. He and Bunel are beyond compare.
no, definitely. Even you guys helped me a lot in that journey. And so one thing which I realized was I used to think that these sessions might not give me the content like as these are free, but that was not the case. So like all those people who are like listening to this, you can actually be assured that the like free lessons are also given from the like they're not hiding any information, to be honest. Even
Nope.
eGMAT, when I see. Uh, even they gave completely full free lessons, and they even disclosed their own secrets. So I realized GMAT Club is a like community which is there for your benefit, so you don't have those kind of apprehensions that it's free, that's why it does not work. And the forums and everything are amazing. And GMAT Verbal, yes, also make sure that you are reading the forums, and also focusing on, like, if you're solving questions, you're focusing on, like, why did you get something wrong, and did you get something right, and one step further, what about the other options. So it helps you really learn, and you don't have to really necessarily do a lot of questions, which is the mistake which I did. You have to you have to spend a lot of time on analyzing those questions, like, which you've done. So that's there. Error log plays a huge role.
Wonderful. Folks, we're obviously now at an hour 15. I'm going to start calling this a quote unquote lightning round because we're going to start pressing up against some deadlines in terms of like, or not deadlines, but just some time constraints, um, both personal and GMAT related. So I'm going to try and speed these up just a little bit. So this question is from Mr. Sunday. So I have a mathematical background from Nigeria. Oh, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I studied accounting for my undergrad. I have never written the GMAT before. I'm considering writing the GMAT a month to this time. Kindly advise Mr. Evan. So GMAT math is very different than accounting. And that's kind of the issue. I was a finance and economics major. It's very different, unfortunately. So what you have to what I'd recommend is going online, maybe taking a practice test to see how it feels, because I don't think any of us can answer whether an accounting background is going to make you able to answer the questions. Or go on GMAT Club. Just try a couple of questions. If you're struggling with them, that probably gives you an indication that you're probably not ready. But if you are, you are. I mean, there's some people who are just ready for it. Nitish, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I myself am from accounting background. Not like my experience, but I've done my majors in accounting, and yes, like, as you said, GMAT is really much more different. So, like, that would not really consider, like, that would not really help you out if you're thinking of on those lines. So just explore the quant side, like what it exactly is, and really understand it to the core, and then you'll see, like, on yourself, like by yourself, like what you have to do for gaining your abilities. So that's there.
There we go. From Akash at Evan, for sense correction grammar rules, is there one good source where I can learn everything? The answer is yes and no. I mean, if you wanted to use something like Manhattan Preps, so MG Matt's SC book, I know a lot of our moderators swear by it. You're never going to capture everything because SC is almost limitless. And by the way, that's not me talking. I actually spoke to GMAT Ninja about this not that long ago. And that was his statement of, you can get 80, 90% of SC. You can't get it all because it's just so vast. There are so many tweaks and nuances and tiny things. So unfortunately, it was a great source, but MGMAT's book tends to do well. GMAT Club has a bunch of the free resources, as we discussed. Nitesh, we discussed how many hours a day that you studied and when, so we don't have to cover that again.
And one thing, that MGMAT book didn't really help me out. I tried that out.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, MGMAT book really, because it just lists the different like rules for you, but I could not really judge the application of the same. And on GMAT, the application is really important. So for me, if you say ask, eGMAT was one area, like one course which covered everything, because even if it didn't cover everything, it allowed you to, like, it helped you think about those aspects which were not covered. So, like, for me, eGMAT was everything. And to be honest, I was quite overwhelmed with GMAT Club, because there were a lot of subsections and like SC rules for that. But like when I did the eGMAT course, even those were covered. Like the way you have to think, even that was covered. So that's there.
Okay, duly noted. Do you think EGMAX mocks are tougher than the official ones?
I didn't really try the official mock, but yes, eGMAT mock seemed quite apt for me, with the respect of the kind of questions there were on the real mock. a real exam. At the same time, the progression which they had, so like the artificial intelligence with like eGMAT was amazing. And at the same time, I realized the data which they give, so like no other mock gives you the data based on those sections, the different, I don't know what's it called, blocks, the different blocks of the exam. So that's exactly like the official exam. So that's the reason why I loved eGMAT. Yeah.
Succinct, very nice. Can you share how yoga helped you in your GMAT journey?
Yeah, and seriously it helped me a lot, especially during the day, because so like we get 8 minutes of time, break time, right? There were a lot of videos on what to do in that 8-minute time. So like I particularly did sirasan. You can check it out, and this is again seemingly quite weird, but what does that helps, like the way that helps is I took a coffee shot, like I went to the loo, I came back, it was 1 minute, and 2 to 3 minutes I did that sirasan between that. So like all the blood flow like flows in your mind when you do that shirasana. So that really helps during the break, because then you rejuvenate, and then you take a nap of 1 to 2 minutes. So in that way it helped. Plus at the same time, as I said, GMAT is really important. Like it's really important for you to be stress free and keep your body and mind in balance. So like yoga, everyday yoga helped me really get into the mode of studying and flow the blood in my mind. So, but one asana if you want to do to really help you gauge that ability is sirasana for sure, and pranayam. So sirasana and pranayam is something which you can explore on your own also. Yeah.
Wonderful. Quickly on this one, can you share your RC strategy, or did you even
Sure.
have one?
Yeah, so I had a really interesting RC. So for RC, I tried to like solve different methods. Avi Gutman was one, so I appreciate his quant understanding and everything. But the way other gimmicks were there, so like there were a lot of gimmicks where you skim and do stuff like that. But that didn't work for me. What worked for me was really enhancing my capability of reading. One thing which I stopped was watching YouTube videos on 2x, because that really helped me comprehend the message which I want to read, like comprehend the passage in 1x speed in my mind also, and really understand the meaning and the crux of it. Plus, I took note making strategy. So you can even find a lot of free sessions of eGMAT. So eGMAT session, eGMAT has a lot of free sessions on GMAT Club. Subscription channel, so you can even check that, and even you can check eGMAT's forum. So like that's that, if I'll, as we're short on time.
Yep. And so, how were you able to remember all VGMAT's rules because there are so many?
I took notes. So it seemed that it took a lot of time. But when I took notes, what I did, I took notes, and in one sheet, I summarized all those notes. So at the end, I only had to read one sheets. And as in when you do the error log, you somehow remember all that which you've summarized. So like error log goes hand in hand with your course progression. So whatever you do, you summarize your learnings, and it's basically that's what error log is. Yeah.
How good is Kaplan test? They suck. We covered this.
Yeah.
In fact, I was working with a Kaplan GRE question, not GMAT, GRE question, and I went through it just to see if Kaplan screwed up the GRE. They did. I corrected their question because none of the answers were right. So Kaplan sucks. MGMAT and OG, like official ones, I would recommend. He obviously recommends EGMAT as well. So those would, and Veritas works in a pinch too. But beyond that, you're starting to get really iffy, and you could get into some bad habits. I can't imagine the answer to this is I wanted an MBA or a master's. What are your thoughts?
Well, for me, it was more about diversity and the kind of culture I'm exposed to, and more than academics itself. Plus, obviously, the faculty also. So these two reasons were there for me pursuing not MBA but MIM, and for not for a MBA because I like the kind of exposure which I want. I'll get that exposure in MIM, not necessarily like MBA. Also, I would get that, but the cost is much higher, so I would not want to spend that much on an MBA.
All
That's the
right. And then I'll answer these last two questions and we'll wrap things up. CR Bible, I love. I put a summary of it on GMAT Club. It's in my CR guide. I would highly recommend it and to read that guide. So that there's that, but I don't believe he used it because he used eGMAT. Lastly, RC. Read my RC guide. Similar to my CR guide, read the RC guide. I'm a huge proponent of teasing out 2 or 3 main ideas, author, tone, main point of each paragraph, and then main point of the entire passage, and teasing out a couple of unique words here and there. That is on my RC strategy guide. I'd highly recommend that you. Sorry, I just had to clap to get something away. And I'd highly recommend that you leverage that to the best of your abilities. It is on my profile on gmatclub.com. So both are fairly easy to find, both CR and RC guide. I am talking very quickly because we are indeed out of time at this point. Nitish, thank you so much for joining me here today. To our users and viewers who are going to see this and who did view this, thank you so much. You were a pleasure and a delight. I hope all of you got as much out of this as you were hoping for. Please join us again either next week or in a couple weeks when we do our next debrief, and for all of our other GMAT Club-based content. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me here. Have a great